Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Lagilia, and on this episode of Not Your Average Joe, powered by Mortgage Message, we're talking to Deanne Bekermeier, the Director of Development at Trinity Christian School in Shorewood. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Joe, powered by Mortgage Message. My name is Joe Lagilia, and today we're joined with Deanne Bekermeier, the Development Director for Trinity Christian School. Deanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
Absolutely. So we're so excited. In the pre-interview, we were just talking about how small of a world this is. There's so many connections, and the purpose of this interview is to lift up real community heroes and to make that world even smaller, to talk about a real awesome mission that you're a part of. So why don't you get started and just kind of tell everybody who you are and what you're all about.
Sure. So again, I'm Deanne Bekermeier. I am the Director of Development at Trinity Christian School. Trinity is located in Shorewood, and we serve Shorewood, Plainfield, Minooka, really kind of the greater Joliet area. Trinity really has a cool story. It's a cool beginning, but also a very humble beginning. Yeah. So Trinity was started by a group of families who had an idea about education and what would be the best fit for their children in the areas of academic excellence and spiritual excellence. And so they were pioneers, and they took a leap of faith, and they started the school, and they started in the basement of a church.
Wow.
And it resonated with other families, and they began to grow. And then they ended up building a building just off of 59 and Black Road in Shorewood, and then adding on to that building. So really, they just had a cool vision and mission for education for their children, but then ended up serving this community 30 years later.
It's so amazing. And I, again, as we get into this beautiful story, it's inspiring, right? Because there's so many people that are connected to something today that they see, hey, we want to be the change we want to see in the world. How do we do that? And here's a story right in our backyard that they can look back to from 3 decades ago that's held the resolve to get here today. And I think our audience would love to know more of your story on how you connected with Trinity and how you've come to where you are today.
Sure. So that's very interesting. My middle daughter is actually a teacher at Trinity. She teaches middle school math, so 6th grade math, pre-algebra, and algebra. And so a position for Director of Development had opened up. I had worked in a different field, but was looking to make a job change. My company had gotten smaller and had sent people remote. Now, this is before being remote was cool.
Right.
I didn't love it for me personally. At that time, my husband and I became empty nesters, and I'm more of a people person. So I wanted to be not working remote by myself, but in with people. That's where my joy comes from. And so, full circle, usually the parents, recommend their child for a job, but my daughter recommended me for this position, and a lot of what I had done in the past aligned with it. My passion for education, my passion for community, and it just felt like a good fit. So I have been doing this for 5 years now.
Wow, just incredible. So you were the remote working expert before it was a thing.
Before it was cool, yeah.
And it's interesting too. I often say, the thought of doing a Zoom call before the pandemic was like so foreign.
Yes.
And here we are today. But that's exciting. And looking at kind of your journey over the last 5 years, what are some of the experiences that pop out at you as far as just the fulfillment of this new position that you've really made your own? And we'll talk about some exciting things that we have here that you're doing. But just what are some of the things looking back the last 5 years that you just kind of think about and say, man, this has been so fulfilling to do this?
Yeah. I think the most rewarding part is really seeing the impact on individual children's lives. Just watching them flourish academically, because their parents know, while there's many amazing ways to do education, and some students just thrive in the large public school environment, and that's their best fit. But other students need a smaller private school environment to reach their highest potential. It really isn't one size fits all.
Yeah.
So seeing those parents find us and find that best fit educationally for their child, and then watching that child flourish, spiritually and academically, and having that foundation of realizing their gifts, their talents, their interests, and applying that to their life, and then getting them ready. Trinity is preschool through 8th grade, so preparing them for their next step. Yeah. Which would be high school.
So great. I often, so much of our audience know my story, and I talk about my testimony all the time about finding a real personal relationship with Jesus Christ later in life. Yeah. And I often think about how my life may have been just more connected, as you're talking about here today, if I would have had more of a platform to be able to grow in these areas that you're discussing. And I think it's so beautiful. And I think more than ever, and I'm sure that every generation says this, but more than ever, I feel we need this in our community. We need this outlet. We need this platform. And so if there's a parent watching, kind of just take us through, what does that look like as far as them kind of getting introduced to this concept? Maybe it's the first time they've ever heard of Trinity.
Sure.
Maybe it's something that they've been looking and researching. But what does that look like as far as a parent with a family wanting to become a part of the Trinity family?
Sure. So I think a great first step is to go to our website, trinitychristian.info, I-N-F-O, and browse our website. There's a virtual tour on there. There's testimonials. You really do get a great feel for what Trinity is. But then after that, come and tour. Even if you just have the tiniest, I just want to know more, come and tour. We have open houses throughout the year, but at any time you can call the office and say, can I have a tour? And you'll be introduced. And we always get the feedback that something was different when I walked through those doors. I got that family feel that Trinity has about it. That's one of the things we love. And when families share with other families, they're like, we want to come alongside parents. We want our president of our school board, Dr. Alexander, gives this analogy. We want to be like a three-legged stool. So the child is sitting on the seat, and of course the seat is the Lord. And then the three stools are the family and the church and the school.
Wow.
And so we just want to help families nurture their children's educational and academic experience, make sure that they reach their highest potential academically, but then also spiritually, and finding the gifts and the talents and the interests that they've been given that they will now utilize in their next step in high school, college, and beyond.
So exciting. And it's amazing to think about this organization being in our backyard here, located in the Shorewood and surrounding areas. So much of the reason you have been nominated, besides your incredible passion for what you do, clearly, I'm sure all of our audience is just, wow, this woman has such a light, right? Tell us about this incredible initiative through the state of Illinois that you've been integral towards through the investment into these kids that want to have the opportunity that we just got done discussing. If you can kind of expand on that.
Sure. So just a really cool program that the state of Illinois has. It's called the Invest in Kids Act. And again, recognizing that the children of the state of Illinois are not one size fits all. So they wanted to make education and children finding their best fit in education possible for all Illinois families. And so this program serves low-income and working-class families in Illinois. They can apply for an Invest in Kids scholarship. They apply through a scholarship granting organization. And with that organization, it's called an SGO. We work with Empower Illinois, and they're the largest SGO in Illinois, and they serve to really match families seeking a smaller private school education for their student, but not able to meet the financial need with private donors. So that's how this program is funded. Private donors donate to Empower Illinois, and there's many benefits to donating to this program. One, you're investing in children in your community.
Absolutely.
You are making a difference in a child's life. So you donate to Empower Illinois, you're blessing that child, but then you get blessed at tax time. So the state of Illinois has said that any donor donating to this program will receive a 75% of their donation in the form of an Illinois state tax credit. So at tax time, when you're doing your taxes, you can apply that state tax credit to your state income tax. And the credit, again, will be in the amount of 75% of whatever you donated. So it's not a deduction. It is a state tax credit.
Wow.
So the benefit to the donor is huge. Again, impactful to a child's life, but personally, financially impactful.
Yeah.
A blessing at tax time.
I was doing some research prior to the interview, and this is such an incredible program.
Yeah.
And I think you prioritized it perfectly when you said, first and foremost, take the tax deduction out of it. We're talking about the opportunity to lift up others that are in need, right?
Yes.
And we're called to do that.
Yes.
And I think it's great that there's the thought of a family that can get introduced to Trinity Christian School, fall in love with the mission, and then be in a place to where they need support to do it. This is the call to action for our community to say, let's get behind this.
Yes.
Let's lift up these kids, because there is no greater call to action, right? But as you mentioned, the state of Illinois website stated that up to $75 million a year they're willing to do this for.
Yes.
And you think of the impact that $75 million can make, and it doesn't take much. It's the old saying, many hands create light work.
Yes.
It doesn't take much. Tell me exactly how someone listening to this that just got inspired by what you said, where can they go to be able to kind of move forward with this initiative?
Right. So go to the Empower Illinois website. It's Empower Illinois, all one word, lowercase, .org. They have a website that is phenomenal, and tons of resources on there. It's segmented to families who want to apply, donors in school. So if you want to donate, go to the donate section. They'll walk you through it. They also have a 1-800 number, and I recommend utilizing that. They are wonderful there. They walk people through it, and you can designate the school that you want your donation to go to. So you want to impact this community, you can choose Trinity Christian School in Shorewood, and then they will take that and match it up with a family who has said Trinity Christian School in Shorewood is the best fit for my student, and they match those up. So right now we have 28 students waiting to be funded through this program on a waiting list.
It's so great. This is a call to action to the Not Your Average Joe audience. Let's get those 28 students funded.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Deanne, when you think about this amazing mission you're behind that we just got done discussing, when you think about the impact both locally and global that we're discussing here today, what's the main message that you want to get across to anyone who's watching, who may be inspired to even come to look to be a part of your organization, maybe come to look from a financial to provide funding, or maybe it's a family out there that wants to have that tour, like you said? What's maybe a main message to all of them?
I love how you linked all of those together, because it really is a community effort, a community of business owners and private individuals and families. And when we come together and we create a quality educational system, so both public schools and private schools working together to serve the families in the community flourishes. I was just saying, my dad created this picture in my mind of, he was very civically minded, very involved in our community. We grew up in Downers Grove, Illinois. But he taught this to me, and how it just popped in my mind recently, I think was cool in preparation for today. But he was like, communities are built by schools and churches at the center. And out of that, families are drawn to communities, because when the churches are great and the educational system is great, that's what families want for their children.
Amen.
And then when families are drawn to it, businesses are drawn to it, and then it just has that ripple effect. But education and faith is at the core of it. And then just when we educate the young people of our community, when we invest in that upcoming generation, again, the whole community benefits. So investing in education, investing in the children that God places in your path, investing in your neighbor's children, investing in your own children, your nieces, your nephews, it makes a difference. It's a ripple effect.
I know that resonates with our audience, because it certainly resonated with me. And as you mentioned, I mean, what other legacy is there for us to leave?
Right.
What other legacy is for us to leave?
Amen.
You really broke that down
awesome.
Beautifully.
Thank you.
Deanne, you have been nominated because of your community efforts and because of your passion for what you do as a real community hero. And anyone listening to this interview now understands why. Deanne, in closing of this interview, would you please tell us, who is your hero?
Cool question. Well, I alluded a little bit to it. As you shared too, Jesus is my hero, right? The way he modeled servant leadership, love for your neighbor, reaching out to those around you. That's what we're called to do too. That's what our students are taught to do from preschool through 8th grade. They, in addition to excellence in academics, they are taught about servant leadership, about taking the knowledge that you have, the academic knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, and sharing it with your community in your world. And Trinity does that in a ton of really cool ways. We partner with Alden right behind us, and we serve our young people, partner with the senior residents at Alden. We rake leaves in our neighborhood. We go to feed my starving children. So really just putting your faith in action. So sorry, that kind of diverted
Beautiful.
from who my hero is.
Beautiful.
But really taking who your hero is and not just leaving that on a shelf, but putting that and implementing what you learn from your hero into your daily life and into your work and into your community.
So great. Deanne, one last time for anyone who's watching, how can they get connected with you, with Trinity? What's the best way for them to check you out?
So our website, www.trinitychristian.info, and then for the Invest in Kids program, empowerillinois.org.
Deanne, thank you for all you do for our community.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to another episode of Not Your Average Joe. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.